Hi everyone, welcome to the SecureMA event. Today we have an amazing panel to you about harassment and cyberstalking. Before I introduce them, I'd like to ask a question from the audience. How many of you guys have experience or know someone who has experience as raising hands? So it's an interesting mix, which is one of the reasons that we're talking about this now. Is there are a lot of people who are aware of cyberstalking, and there are a lot of people who are on the opposite end who have no knowledge of it. But what we find is the more people that learn about it, the more they realize that it either unfortunately has happened to them or it's happened to someone they know. So with that in mind, the idea for this panel started with one of our panelists, Audrina, who actually presented on this topic at the Diana Initiative. So she did that in Vegas, and we decided we wanted to bring it back to Boston and share it. So I'll give a short introduction, just titles, for the people here, and then I'll ask them to do a bit of a longer introduction on them and their knowledge of cybersecurity. So first up, we have Dr. Kelly Masada. She is the CEO of cybersecurity. We also have Paul Fitzgerald. He's the Director of Security Services at the Edward Davis Company. Greg Hansen, he's a professor at WIT in the computer science and network. And then we have Audrina Cherney, who is a product manager at CyberReason and a forensics expert. So Kelly, would you like to lead us off? Sure. You guys hear me? Okay. Green light is not. All right. Right. Hello. All right. Oh my God, I thought it was me. Hi, everybody. How are you? Thank you for sharing your lunch with us. So I'd like to say Dr. Kelly Masada, because I earned that PhD the hard way, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. But I am a CEO and founder of Sideline Security. Sideline is an organization that I built for my dissertation research, and we help nonprofits navigate. Okay. I think it's an out.
Yeah.
Should I just keep going? Okay. So that's good. All right. So this is what happens when you reverse chair, right? So I'm also president of the Information Security Foundation. We built Cercata, which is an intrusion detection and intrusion protection system. It's an open source project. We're way better than another intrusion detection system that I will not mention, but also begins with S, or better. I have stickers. And my knowledge around cyberstalking is that the way I got into security was that I was a victim of cyberstalking for about 7 years by someone I worked with. Before then, I was happily in the marketing. So I met it was someone I worked with, but it really changed the path of my life and my career.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul Fitzgerald. I'm happy to be here. My background, to get on to the panel, career Boston. So I did my 33 years at Boston. My last 14 or so on and 5 were over in investigation. So I had experience with the more traditional stalking. And then, in that 5 years, in my last 9 years, I was the chief of intelligence and homeland security for the police. So positive. Cybercrime was more focused in the counterterrorism world into threats to corporations, to banks, to churches. When you read about it on the news, you hear about it that threats came to the country. You know, they didn't know about it in the city, studying the role, shoot people out, using all this proof, non-minor mistakes that they do. I was on the other end of that kind of investigative with the FBI. And I learned a lot about encryption and the tactics being used to avoid fraud.
Hello, I'm Ray Hansen. I'm an associate professor at the Institute of Technology. I founded the cybersecurity undergraduate program there and continue to be the lead faculty member running that program. My experiences along the way, I previously was at another university that had a cybercrime task force, and as kind of a member of that task force, we interacted with a variety of local, state, federal law enforcement agencies, and through that, I was able to do a handful of forensic investigations, of which my role was the network forensic side, which was doing some of what the DSA investigation that Paul had mentioned, and some of those did entail dealing with cyber tracking, cyber nanny kind of software that was being used for tracking individuals.
So, hi everyone, I'm Green Attorney, product manager here at CyberReason. And for those of you who are online watching, thank you for tuning in. I'm really happy to have all of my colleagues at CyberReason here, and I'll share a little bit of my background with you. So, prior to being a product manager at CyberReason, how about this? How about that? All right, I've been here with you. Thank you. All right, thank you, Ray. So I'm really pleased to have a lot of my colleagues at CyberReason here in the room. Those of you who are here in person know me as a product manager at CyberReason. Previous to this, I was working in our SOC, investigating threats and malware, and seeing firsthand the daily type of tracking that malware can do on any user system, whether it's targeted or not, the types of data that can be exfiltrated from a computer, from a cell phone, and sent back to any kind of adversary. In my role before that, I was a digital forensics examiner for 10 years. And in particular, I worked in a number of cases that did involve cyberstalking and monitoring. So specifically, there are a number of cases that come to mind about spousal stalking. And in particular, one of the ones that really blew my mind was in a high net worth divorce. One party in the divorce was monitoring the other person's computer. And the one person who was being monitored just couldn't seem to keep a private life. The other party always knew when the lawyer's appointments were, where she was going in the real world, and the investigation into how that spyware was working, how that was a commodity purchase where this person could just go out onto the internet with a credit card and purchase remote monitoring software was really eye-opening. And bringing these kind of issues to light has always, ever since that investigation, really been important to me. Thank you so much. So, if you guys don't mind sharing your own comments, it would be best. It might work now. I'd like to start just by bouncing off what you said, Lorena, and asking you, do you find that the majority majority of software has been around spouses or former spouses, or is this something that's more widespread? Are there other people in this part, people that you don't treat?
So the question was about how widespread stalkerware is. And in my experience, I mentioned seeing it in a relationship and in a war situation. It's really broader than that. That was a particularly obvious case of targeting. I think we see this in different types of relationships. I think we could even see it among people who don't have intimate relationships, people in friend groups, for example. And I want to point out that it doesn't necessarily need to be a commodity spyware that we're talking about here. This could be something like uses of legitimate applications that you have on your computer or your cell phone used for purposes that you're not intending them to be used for. So I'll give a personal example. With my husband, I share my location on Google Maps. So at any given point in time, I can see where he is, and he can see where I am, which is really great when the train's running late, which is more than I wish it was. But for other people, you might be using something like Google Maps sharing and maybe not realize who you're sharing with. Or you might not realize that you're sharing personal information through other legitimate applications like that. So it can take many forms between different types of people. And it also doesn't necessarily need to be using a tool that we think about as spyware.
Yeah, I think, so just to hopefully give you some more context, because I think the mic is going in and out. So my stalker attacked me for the better part of 7 years. And it wasn't just me, it was anyone even loosely associated with me. He used Tor, he used Google, he got into my Yahoo account and was able to get names of friends and family. He found me on Facebook, connected with people that way. He set up accounts in my name so that when he would send his malicious attacks to people in my life, they were compelled to open things because they thought they were coming from me. And this went on for a lot of years. And it was really startling because people often assumed, that this, was a spouse. There was, some personal elements to this person coming into my life. But, I think what was so startling to me at the time was that people were saying to me, just stay off the internet. Stay off the internet in 2009. Like, really? And the other thing that was really startling to me is the best efforts of law enforcement. They didn't have the knowledge or power or the understanding to deal with me. I mean, I had law enforcement folks in my town at that time say, we don't know how to help you. I had a restraining order that the judge granted me. I mean, even though he lives in California. But when he came to challenge the restraining order, he stood on the stand and said, I have a Google alert on Kelly's name, and that's gone against the law, and there's nothing I can do about it. So, it's really amazing to see these common technologies and these relationships sort of go in these directions. But to your question, what I'm noticing, now 10 years out, I can't believe it's been 10 years. 10 years out is that people use the word stalking in these friendly, kind of jovial ways, which isn't to say it's bad, and I don't react, I promise. I don't go like, oh my God. But I think it's really important to understand that the term stalking and the term cyber harassment has changed over these years, and we can't always just put it into a cookie cutter mold and say this is stalking. It's part of a conversation.
So let's go To me, it's pretty horrifying that the stalker was so brazen before about that type of behavior. And it makes me wonder from the police side of things, how do you handle that? How do you deal with the fact that even though that isn't legal, it's clearly creepy and not okay?
Okay, so, basically, you're right. For law enforcement, if you go to the police department, one of the problems is you get a lot of guys my age who technology is new to us. So our kids are very good at it. We're trying to learn the basics of it. So the good news is guys like me getting older and moving out, and younger people are coming on who are very familiar with technology. So we're heading in the right direction. If you go to the police department, you mentioned, something that the individual admitted to is not illegal. If you go to a police station and say, you want to report a crime, the way we have to look at it, what are the elements of the crime to make it a crime? Cyberstalking is going to have to be repeated pattern of behavior, deliberately done to cause you angst or put you in fear. And then there's an and in the statute, and make it a direct threat to you. What I'm learning from the research I did today, many of the BPD who are currently in the cases, is oftentimes that second element is not there. There's no direct threat. They're just causing you a lot of angst, harassing you, embarrassing you on the internet, your family, all those things. So there's an alternative to that. So if they're extorting money, there's another crime. You don't have, the cyberstalking crime, but you have extortion. So there's criminals are criminals. They've extorted money forever. They've sold drugs forever. They're just now using the internet, cyber to do their crimes. So you just have to meet the elements. What I've learned a lot in my life now is we're dealing with clients in the private sector who most of it's former relationships, and they go sour, and one of them 6 days can't take the end and harassing them. So those are the things we're dealing with in the private sector. And what I've learned is actually harassment prevention orders is a very good tactic, because it's a civil order. You can get it against someone who's causing you angst repeatedly, that pattern of behavior, get a harassment prevention order, and then any violation of that is a criminal offense. So that's how you get what involved in this person going down that road of getting help response.
So a follow-up question to that. Did you again?
Yeah, I just wanted to take along to that. One of the insights that is, I think, useful is the cyber harassment and cyber stalking is not a technology problem. This is a people problem. The cyber part is the tool in which it's enabling them. So from my world, where I'm teaching networking and teaching engineering and teaching cybersecurity in computer science departments, often we only look at the technology side of trying to solve any problem. And if we continue to only focus there, then we'll never solve the problem. We have to understand that this is a people and a society issue. It is not going to be solved by us creating a magical tool that will suddenly prevent all of this.
Can I add one more thing to that? And the technology, all of you know how to spook your identity, right? You know how to change your identity on the internet. The legal system, and I like Paul a lot, so. And honestly, the law enforcement officials from the FBI and my local law enforcement who helped me during my situation were amazing. But what happens is that you have to prove that the person on the other side of that computer is that person. And how easy is it for them to mask their identity? So that was the biggest challenge in my case, was that he kept saying, you can't prove it's me. It could be your ex-husband to the domestic, situations. It could be somebody else that doesn't like you. So that proof of identifying a person through that technology is one of the most challenging and actually one of the most difficult parts from a victim's perspective to wrap your arms around, because from a victim side, you just want the bad guy to go away. You want your life back. And when you have technology professionals saying, like the FBI said to me, he's using Tor, he can't help you. We can go knock on his door, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's not going to piss him off. So where are you left with to be able to deal with this?
So a question following up on that. This sort of makes me wonder, because obviously the people who do participate in cyberstalking, they have no respect for boundaries, basically. So you can expect that they are potentially doing other things that might be easier to prove or illegal. Well, do you find that it's easier to prosecute someone who has done an additional bad activity that might be a little less like gray area than cyberstalking? And is it better for victims to try to address that issue and get them away from that as opposed to cyberstalking?
That's always a option to law enforcement. You pull whatever lever you can to get someone off the street. That's what you're talking about. So you may not get a guilty, on a murder, so you can get a guilty on that. So you get the guy off the street. You want to hold everyone accountable to their action. In this case, very difficult to. There's the known offenders and then the unknown. The unknown is most difficult because they're usually pretty savvy at what they're doing. And, we've had cases where there's no human, they slip up. If you stay with it long enough, they make a mistake. They go to a public library, you can do the ALSR on it, and you can trace it back, and you can go old-fashioned with cameras, who was on the computer at that time, and identify that way, hopefully. But yeah, it's always an option. If we have something else to get them on, just get them on something to get them on.
Ladrina, you have a background in identifying evidence for these types of cases. Can you talk a little about how difficult that is and whether or not that usually ends up in a conviction? Yeah, absolutely. So the one case that I really started to drill down on this with was with this divorce situation. And in this case, while I was able to take a fair amount of effort, it was probably a number of weeks of investigation to figure out, hey, this is what's being tracked. Every keystroke on your computer is being recorded and being sent out here on the internet. I was able to prove that there was some kind of recording going on. Where that information went, where those keystrokes, where that computer monitoring went, that was a lot harder of a question or of an answer to give. What ended up happening was assistance from the legal system, where we were able to go to court and say, we have reason to believe there were other outside factors outside of the computer itself. Again, coming back to re-mentioning there are humans involved here. It's not a problem that exists purely because of technology. Being able to look at outside factors and information involved to say, we believe this is the other party who's involved in this situation here. We want to subpoena their banking records. And this was the outside piece of information, outside of that forensic investigation, that just happened to hit a bullseye. And I have never seen it as clear cut as this, where this individual's credit card history indicated a purchase for this monitoring software. And that's a lot of levers to pull and a lot of things to line up. So it was the forensics only supplanted by outside information. And it's a hard thing to prove technologically. Ray, do you have anything else to say about that? Piggybacking off of what
Sure. In one of the investigations I was involved with, it was something similar where keystrokes were being logged. And this was a father who had installed this key logger to track what the teenage daughter was actually involved with, thinking because of some behaviors that the 16-year-old daughter might be involved with drugs and alcohol, and it ended up that he separated from the family, and while being separated, his wife engaged in some other activities And the key logger was a great key logger, but the way it delivered all those key logs was it would email him. So it was really easy, unlike Lodrina's where it required lots of additional effort. This one was a little less technically savvy and was just emailing. So, okay, yes, that email address may have been anybody. That involved just getting logs off of the email service. Said, yeah, he was actually pulling from this particular system. So we could track it down that way and identify it. But yeah, it's still, as Paul had said, this was a person making a mistake. Had he sent this to some other anonymized email account, it would have been much more difficult to track.
So, a question that we received a lot when promoting this event, even, and I think a question that comes up a lot with cyberstalking in general is, what's the real impact here? Can't you just block this person and have it be done? Is there anything besides some like emotional strife that comes out of this and that affects the people who are victims of this happen? What do you think of that, Kevin?
There's a lot wrapped up in that. So for me, the impact was severe for years. You know, I came out of a marriage. I had this stalker. I moved back home to Boston and couldn't get a job because my stalker was putting such malicious things on the internet about me. So I went 2 years unemployed because of the situation. Trying to raise 2 girls. Now, at my lowest point, you know, I remember it vividly because he had this way of getting to me on holidays, right? So I went on my computer on Thanksgiving morning to get the address of a friend's house where I was going to for dinner. And of course, there was a message from him, you know, and I won't repeat it. For lots of reasons, I don't say those words. And it's really not about that, but what it did was it brought me to my knees. And I remember staying up against the door in my office, sobbing and feeling really awful and thinking about the number 66 bus that went down my street and wondering if maybe tomorrow, if I just walk a little slower, if the 66 bus might just kind of put this all to an end. And then my daughters started knocking on the door saying, Mom, what's wrong? Because throughout my situation, I insulated my children from it because I didn't want them to know. And when I realized what I had to find was a different path. So as fate would have it, I was lucky enough to get introduced to Dr. Eugene Stafford from Purdue University that said, hey, you can stop being a victim and do something else. By the way, I have a PhD in information security if you want to give it a try. And I have an MBA in marketing, okay? So just to give perspective on my background. And so I got a PhD to combat my stalker. I have a PhD in InfoSec. Yes, I had to learn advanced cryptography as a marketing professional. I do not recommend it to anybody. But still, you know, I carry it with me. I like to say that I have the Hollywood ending. I don't. He's still doing what he's doing. He's trolling here and there. But the difference for me is that I have to find my path. There are moments that, and I've told Sam Curry this many times, there are moments that I don't feel like I have a seat at the table in the security space. And he's one of the people in my life that says you earned your right to be here and you bring a perspective to security that others don't have. And so I feel grateful from that perspective, but this is not the path I chose. This was the path that I was put on. For other victims, I know they find other ways to combat it. They go out on Twitter, they try and be really vocal, they try and go after their attacker. For me, it wasn't as much about him It was about how the technology was being used to facilitate this attack on me, and how to help the people who were also being peppered by him to not hate me and not to believe those words and not ruin our relationships. So the impact for a victim is vast. The other thing I'll just mention, especially for those of you who know people who've been cyberstalked, one of the hardest things is that the words that person sends you is like a teleprompter. So you're sitting at a stoplight, your brain automatically runs through those words in your head, because unlike before technology, where you could point across the street and say, there's my stalker sitting in the ugly Chevy across the street, please come get him. My stalker was on my phone and on my email and anywhere I went, because I carried him in my purse. So it's a very, very different situation. And, the police department was great, but they also said to me, if he shows up on your porch, call us. Or if he beats you up, come let us know. And I couldn't show the bruises, I couldn't show the pain, I couldn't show the impact. So I went and got PhD, and that's funny.
Paul, can you speak a little bit to the impact as well? And you can generalize to stalking cases as well. How do these usually end? Do they usually end with alcoholic drinking, or do they usually end in someone getting hurt or struggling with years of PTSD?
Yeah, so it's kind of a mix. Hollywood ending back to the case of reality. A lot of angst, a lot of really traumatized women. The sentencing that I've seen given out is enough. When someone is found guilty of sentence, to me, it could be 24 months, 18 months, and they're ruined several lives. Taking a real toll on people's lives. So, again, I go back to, like you mentioned, in the old days, harassment phone calls, like you said, criminals and criminal. This is just a new way to really torment people, because the phone, texting, everything's private, and the world is so open, and blogs and all that stuff about you, and can really create so this is brutal. If you the guys that I've talked to about their doing the cases now, they really just want you to preserve communication, make sure you save them, both electronically and try to prosecute. You never want to, you want to make the first one contact that's unwanted communication. Don't contact it again, just set the foot on immediate violation. You start saving those communications. Try your IP. People, both the one he sent it from and yours, that maybe get unblocked by that, and then go to the police, make police reports, and get them involved. Ultimately, to get a guilty, what you're going to need is your own presentation of what communication were, and ultimately, it's identifying and get them, searching that stuff to close the deal for us. It will prove that he was the
So, Ray, do you have anything to add to that from the perspective of keeping evidence?
Certainly is, the keeping the digital trail is critical for the easy conviction. Often, as Paula said, and I'm sure as Adrian has experienced, that digital trail isn't always the trail perfectly from point A to point B. There may be many situations where there's a big gap in that trail, and you have to try and pick it up on the other things. And those things are often very difficult. But to go back to Kelly's story for just a second, from the victim perspective, she has not just survived but excelled by her experience, but that's an unrealistic expectation for every victim of cyberstalking. To say, hey, you know how to fix this? Go get a PhD in InfoSec. That's just not going to fly for a whole host of reasons. But again, going back to the people side of this, being part of a community to support those victims is absolutely necessary. And I come from this saying, you know, I'm an absolutely technical person. I don't deal with people very frequently in these investigations. But then there's also the education side of this. I'm not just training students that I have on forensic investigations, but to teach them more to don't be horrible people. And that's a hard thing to do in a computer science program where you say, hey, yeah, your job for today is to develop a script and find this piece of information. So how do you fill that in? Well, that's, you know, making students interact with each other and make them accountable for the actions that they demonstrate. Because often students don't necessarily get along with everyone else, and teaching them how to navigate their own emotions without having to turn to any Slack channel that they're running now, or any other kind of chat room, or all the other technologies we have, you know, text messaging, and et cetera, and say, can you believe what this other jerk did? Yeah. How about you just be a real person and, you know, be reasonable periodically? So.
Just another realistic point around the evidence, and I agree with both Ray and Paul on that. From the victim side, when you see something ugly and disgusting, what do you do with it? Delete it, always, right? That's our instinct, is to delete it. I lost a year of evidence, a year, with his name on it, that could have been used, could have been helpful, maybe not, could have been helpful. So if you have people in your lives that are struggling with this or experiencing this, just say, I know it's hard to keep it. I know it's hard to take a screenshot. I know. Take it, put it in a folder somewhere, or print it out and just kind of put it to the side. But I think the technology we live in, this, you know, this world where it's like, oh, I'm going to delete it, it's going to forever be gone. In some cases, it is forever gone. And we have to remind ourselves that we're going to have the evidence to be able to see cases through, tell the people that's hardest to, don't throw it away.
So before my final question, I'd like to see if there are any questions from the audience. Feel free to raise your hands.
Thanks, Tom. Two-part question. One is, we mentioned that you can sometimes get a criminal based on a different crime. So I'm wondering if there are any libel laws or breaking libel that could apply there. And the second question is somewhat unrelated. You had mentioned a step that a person can take, which is to get a prevention order or something like that. I'm curious about that prevention order. Is that a prevention in general, or does it have to be prevention against a specific individual?
Yeah, so that's against a particular individual. So if someone is harassing you via text, email, phone, you make a police report out. And if it meets that, you know, continued pattern of harassment, it doesn't have to be a direct threat. You can go to court, the district attorney's office will file for, hopefully the judge will issue a harassment prevention. And that's against that individual who you identify as being this. And then if he or she violates it, then it's a criminal matter. He's asking on that road for more prosecution. First question about libel. Oh, yes, liability. Libel, that's a civil violation, not a criminal. So the police wouldn't handle that. But yeah, you could file a lawsuit against someone for harassing you.
Any other questions?
Thank you all for being here today. Thinking about it, if I had a physical stalker, I could take precautions like I come to jiu-jitsu and carry a taser with me. What's the cyber equivalent of carrying the taser? Jiu-jitsu.
You guys mind if I jump on this one? So the advice that I've given folks that cross my path and are too many to count, sadly, is so bad guys will be bad guys. You guys know this better than most, right? Bad guys will be bad guys. Stop worrying about the bad guys. Stop trying to get inside their heads. What's best for victims, in my opinion, is for them to first understand how the technology works in language that makes sense to them. Okay, so when somebody says to a victim, oh, just print out the expanded headers on your email, most people don't know what they're talking about. So we need to help them, be available to be that translator and that resource. The other thing is that I tell them all the time, just like put a moat around yourself. Think about where you are digitally and try to secure the pieces that you feel most vulnerable about. For victims, you want to give them back the control. Because when you're being victimized, particularly through technology, it feels as though the technology is taking hold of you and the stalker. In my case, he was using Tor and a whole other side channels. After my situation, I went to go work in Tor. I can tell that story another time. But what was interesting to me was that I called the Tor project and I talked to the executive director at the time and I said, here's my situation, the FBI is involved, can you please give me the back door to Tor? And as we all know, there isn't one. And I sobbed and I begged and I pleaded. And it was in that conversation that I realized that I can't worry about how the technology was being used to attack me. What I had to do was think about how to protect myself and to have people around me who listen. If you have someone who's being cyberstalked or feeling uncomfortable, listen and tell people that if they're not sure. I think my biggest mistake was that I didn't listen to my intuition. I knew from the second I met that person, there wasn't something right about it. I knew it from the first moment, and I didn't listen to my gut. So listen to your gut. That will be your first, line of defense in any cyber stalking situation. Yeah.
This is Kelly. So your stalker went on for about 7 years. How did that stop? And then you also mentioned that he was still doing it, so maybe then to Paul, how does that keep going? Is it a different person? How do you stop it?
So, in my situation, I got the advice, as Paul suggested, that sometimes they get bored, sometimes they go on to other victims, which, by the way, is not a fun thing for a victim to think about, to think, oh yeah, he'll stop doing it to me because he's going to go do it to somebody else. That doesn't make somebody feel better, just letting you all know. So in my mind, I don't know what the reality is because I spend no time thinking about him. The reality in my world is that I stood up. I went and worked for the Tor project as director of communications. I learned the technology. I learned about anonymity. I went and got a PhD. I did my thing. And for me, the biggest point of I win was walking across the stage to get my degree. So, it's hard. It's not something that goes away just because you delete something that's ugly.
And then on the accountability side, that's it's interesting. So the FBI would probably have that case. They're very capable. They have some really technical people. I don't know if they could prove it or why.
So for a closing question, I'd just like to ask each of you what everyone in this room can do to move the needle on this issue.
and to make cyberstalking less of a reality. Adriana, you start. Yeah, I think as technology professionals in this room, if we can be that shoulder for others in our life who might be going through something like this, to be able to help them identify it and just say, you know what? I believe you, first of all. I believe in what you're going through. I believe that's really hard for you. And to just have the knowledge that this is a more widespread problem than maybe in our communities we've already had discussions about. I think that's the first thing that we can do, is really try to figure out at an early stage for ourselves if we're experiencing this, or for people who are in our communities, like, you know what? That doesn't sound right. Trust that gut instinct and just be able to be an ally for somebody. If they need help with getting those extended email headers printed out, or if they just need some help with something that's a little more of a personal support, like maybe going to law enforcement and saying, you know what, I believe you, I'm not sure how to help technologically, but can I help you find somebody in law enforcement to talk to? The earlier that we can address this issue, the less we have to talk about, hopefully we have less stories about it. It's been going on 7 years, but let's just start at the beginning with understanding how widespread of an issue this is. And again, as technology professionals in this room, to acknowledge if you had any kind of situation that made you feel uncomfortable about going online, how hard is that to perform your job every day, and how much would that take away from your career and your community? So just an awareness of that.
Yeah, wouldn't it be great if we could just somehow teach everyone to look at all the services running on their computers and phones and identify all of these pieces of malware and spyware that could be running? But that's not the reality. We are ever going to live in it. So that means this really is a personal and a personnel problem. So as Adriana said, there needs to be a support network. As Kelly mentioned, you feel very alone in these times, and having somebody that believes you would probably be a lifeline to so many people could really connect with. So here is where the technology piece could fit, is somehow if someone would come up with a lifeline application to say, hey, this would be great. Not that I'm suggesting that's a perfect solution here, but we can only reach out to so many people that we can connect with physically. But being able to even reach out digitally for assistance is probably a step in the right direction.
Yeah, you guys are the technical experts, so I think you're good inside of commercial solution. Avoid it. What I bring to it is just use your people skills, use common sense, be careful. Even online dating sites. This can happen if that's on person, and broke out or online. Don't share things across the internet to people. It's computer hygiene, don't let them in your password. But again, for my research, I talked to a lot of people, and they were saying like 5 minutes, put on something but everything you're doing. So just be very careful. You got it.
So I guess I'll say the other important thing to keep in mind is that there's degrees, right? There's degrees of this issue, and not every issue is like mine, and mine isn't like everybody else's. And I hear my daughter say, well, I'm going to go stalk so-and-so online, and a lot of people say it in jest. So recognize that the words that we use don't always mean what we mean, okay? And checking with people. If you see someone saying, I keep getting these emails from this person, I don't know them or I do know them, it doesn't make me feel right. You don't have to put the label stalking on everything, but pay attention. Pay attention, listen to your guts, and and if this is happening to you or someone you care about, reach out. You at least got my number. You can reach out to me. I'm happy to point you in directions. But sometimes it really is just about saying, I get it. I get it, and I'm sorry, and it sucks. And you'll figure your path. I found my path. You'll figure your path. And there's lots of ways that we can help you.
So I want to thank you all for coming, and thank you to everyone who is remotely viewing this. Thank you to the panelists and the secretary as well. Feel free to come up and talk to the panelists if you have more questions. Sign it out. Thank you guys.